My name is Robert Emery, and I came to be a Dallasite from Oklahoma City, where I was born. My parents were divorced, so when my mother remarried, she married a gentleman who lived in Dallas, and I moved to Dallas at the end of the third grade. I knew that Dallas was a big, splashy, flashy city, and when my mother told me that she was going to marry a man who lived in Dallas and we would be moving to Dallas, I ran to the closet, got my suitcase out, put it on my bed, opened it up, and threw everything in. I wanted to get here as soon as possible. The park-like settings, I was attracted to how very green and verdant it was, and how much was devoted to parks and greenery. And I loved that. And that was from a third grader. I loved the neighborhood we moved to. It had a community pool, and there were children everywhere running around. No one was at home. Everyone was at the community pool.
All of the wonderful. I could talk about all your wonderful work for hours and we won't have enough time today. But how did you first get started into the work that you do, that you've done, that you've dedicated yourself to do?
As excited as I was as a third grader in Oklahoma City to move to Dallas, Dallas did not ever disappoint. It offers every opportunity one could ever dream of. It's right here, and there are world-class cities all over the map, all over the globe. Dallas is right up there with them for opportunities.
Have you seen the city change and evolve?
Being a young, closeted, gay kid, Dallas was a scary place because the general feeling was not one of safety or acceptance. But over time, we've seen city ordinances change. We've seen the Dallas Police Department change. We've seen the city council change. I've been thrilled to watch the city of Dallas grow, mature into a loving, open, caring city. My community involvement began the day that I joined the Turtle Creek Chorale. It was a 80-voice men's chorus. Being in Dallas, of course, it was very careful that they were a men's chorus. They were not like many other cities around America, San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, Denver Gay Men's Chorus. It was the Turtle Creek Chorale. A lot of my community service has grown out of my involvement with them. That's a very big step for someone to stand on stage in front of the whole world with a group of people who are known for one aspect of their personality. And it was quite something for my parents to come to a concert. And it was incredibly helpful for them. A lot of their personal growth came through their involvement with the Turtle Creek Chorale. When I came out to my parents in college, my mother essentially told me to take my toothbrush and go and never come back. If you fast forward 6 years later when I joined the chorale, they saw what that meant, and they spent time with the chorale. They ended up touring to New York City with the chorale and touring to Europe with the chorale. There was 200 gay men and my parents. And that's just a testament to how community engagement can change your life and all the lives of people around you. I'm a co-founder of the Dallas Way. There were actually 6 men who got together to make that happen. And it all started with the brainchild of Jack Evans and his husband, George Harris. But Jack Evans said to the community in an email, "Don't you think we ought to get together and start preserving our history, since it's such a fantastic story Dallas has?" Carl Parker, a friend of all of ours, reached out to Jack and said, "Jack, it's a great idea. But in order to do this, we need a nucleus group." Carl Parker pulled together Buddy Molyneux, Mike Anglin, Robert Emery, Carl Parker, Jack Evans, and George Harris. We spent the year behind the scenes while the community was coalescing around the idea, and we worked on the structure, forming a first board. It's important for any marginalized community to take responsibility for collecting and preserving their history, because the mainstream media is not going to do it for you. So while the world is spinning around and not paying attention to you, you have a beautiful, rich, dynamic, lovely history that you must collect and preserve. I joined the Turtle Creek Chorale in 1989. That was at the height of the AIDS epidemic. Much of what the chorale sang was songs of hope, songs of unity, songs of strength, and songs of healing. We sang at a lot of funerals. There was a time during that period that we sang at a funeral every weekend. After we sang at a funeral, we would come back on a Tuesday night for rehearsal with the terrible cloud over our minds and hearts as to which one of these very sick people we were singing with might be next. It was very much like a war zone. You did not know which one of your brothers might be falling next, and it made life more immediate, and it gave it an intensity, a pain, but also an immediate, made you focus on joy whenever you could, because you didn't know what might be coming next. I learned a lot of lessons about being happy at the same time you're dealing with something very terrible. The Turtle Creek Chorale enjoyed meteoric growth during that time. We doubled in size, from 80 singers to 200 singers. AIDS was one of those cataclysmic events that brings out the best in people and brings people together. In the earliest days of AIDS, the city of Dallas was not doing so well. The city of Dallas at that time was not what it is today. It had some terrible growing pains to get through. Like so many people, they wanted to ignore it. They hoped it would go away. We were living in the Reagan administration, who firmly believed that all the right people were dying, and therefore let's just let it run its course. It'll take out that portion of the population, and so be it. That might be a nice cleansing. They weren't quite aware of how connected everyone is. It was a little bit naive, but we see that repeat itself over and over again in history. With AIDS deaths comes a forced coming out. If you're African American and you walk into a room, everyone in the room knows that you're African American. If you are female and you walk into a room, everyone knows that you're female. For many people in the gay community, if you walk into a room, people don't really know. When I walk into a room, everyone knows. But it forced the gay community to come out of the closet. And it forced people to realize that the cousin that they suspected, or the uncle they never knew about, or the aunt who lived with a woman her whole life, or it forced everyone to come out. For better or for worse, and I think for much better, that was a very good thing. Just pull that mask off and let's just all be real, shall we? So I love that part of it, secretly. But the city of Dallas was going through some rough stuff. At the same time, Micah England was suing to be on the police department. I would love to talk to you about that.
Please do.
All right. Micah England was an Oklahoma girl who always wanted to be a police officer. She moved to Dallas and applied to be a police officer. In the job interview questions, question number 14 asked, have you ever engaged in a deviant sexual act? And Micah answered no, because she was deeply in love with the only person she'd ever shared intimacy with. It was tender and beautiful, kind and loving, nothing deviant about that. So she answered no. But in the one-on-one interviews, they got a sense that she was a lesbian. So they refused her. Micah spent 2 years speaking to Mayor Strauss and to the Dallas Police Department and the Dallas City Council, and at the end of 2 years, with no positive movement, she sued. And she won. Because she won, that freed up municipal hiring throughout the state of Texas. And because of that, the city of Dallas has one of the most diverse police forces in America, often under female police chiefs. There is so much that the city of Dallas owes Micah England, not just gay people. Someone has to stand up to say, you all can't discriminate. And Micah was one of those historic trailblazers who risked her life. She had plenty of death threats, and she had to leave town. Somebody has to stand up and say, you cannot do this anymore the way you've always done it. And Micah England was that person, and the entire city of Dallas owes her a great debt. At the same time that she's doing that, now keep in mind that Dallas is often considered the buckle of the Bible Belt. Have you heard that expression? Here we are. I like to say it's the buckle of the Bible Belt, but it's an awfully sparkly buckle. We're here in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and yet, at the same time Micah is making that incredible move forward, Dallas is creating the world's largest LGBTQ church, the most recorded male chorus in the world, the world's largest seated LGBT fundraising dinner event, and Texas's largest AIDS fundraiser. All of that during the 80s and into the 90s. All of that building under the radar. While so much discrimination was going on, brave people were making unbelievable things happen. So the Chorale is still here. The Black Tie Dinner is in its 44th year. Cathedral of Hope is growing strong. And DIFA, Dallas, is the state's largest AIDS fundraiser, still growing strong. I was at the very, very first DIFA volunteering backstage, and I'll be attending in 2 weeks. And I've basically been backstage all those years. This time, for the first time in, I can't remember how many decades, I'm actually going to be sitting at a table, and I'm going to be bothered that I'm not backstage. I know it, and I've told my table guests, if I disappear for an hour or 3, it's because I'm backstage with my people putting on the show. It's been amazing to have seen the Cathedral of Hope begin in a tiny warehouse of a building and then grow to the magnificent thing it is now. That may be the greatest gift I've been given, is just to be able to witness all that for 40 plus years. The Dallas Way, in our 13 years of existence, has collected 175,000 separate pieces of historical documents. The LGBT Special Collections portion of the UNT libraries is the most visited of all the special collections within their library. They hold all of the Phil Johnson Library from the Resource Center. They have all 40 years of the Dallas Voice newspaper. I would suggest that, just for fun, go on to the portal to Texas history, and in the search bar, type your name and see how many times you come up. The greatest lesson that I've learned working with the Dallas Way and historical documents is that gay history is like a wheel. At the top is when things are going well, and you spin around the bottom when things are going poorly, and back at the top, and it's all going to go around. And when you're at the top and you're enjoying it and you're literally riding high, get ready, because you're going to be pushed back down. And if you're at the bottom, just keep fighting to bring yourself back around to the top. And we've seen it in gay history and in American history since the 1600s. A circle. Celebrated, villainized. Celebrated, villainized. And when you're up here, you got to fight to stay up here as long as you can. And when you're down here, you have to have hope that you will keep fighting to do the things that will bring you back to the top. I currently think we're somewhere in that top area currently, and we work to try to educate people that the world has not always been like this. Because if you're a young person, you and you grew up here in the last 20 years when things have been riding high, you might think that that's the way the world is. I fear that they believe that's the way the world is. And I don't want them to be caught unaware when we slide down to the bottom without any tools to work to get themselves up to the top again. So what we want to do while we're up here is make as many contacts, do as much educating while we can be public. Because sometimes when you're down here, you can't be. Down here is where you lose your job if there's not only proven that you're LGBT, but if there's a suspicion that you are. Down here, you lose your job, you lose your life. So while we're up here, do as much work as you can to educate people on how to either stay up here or get back to up here. That's what we're doing, a lot of educating. Everyone knows that the silver tsunami is coming to America. The silver tsunami is coming. It's the result of what followed World War II and the baby boomers, and now that they are becoming senior citizens, all of America is going to change. Industry is going to change. Business will change. Life will change. 10% of the population is LGBT. So for 10% of the population who, as a group, are very age averse, we decided that we needed to get going and be proactive and start getting some organizations going. The Coalition for Aging works to improve and protect the quality of life of older adults in North Texas. We advocate for the 400,000 LGBT seniors who live in the 4 counties that make up North Texas. We bring LGBT cultural competency to retirement communities. We do that with a metric of 20 questions we ask them to commit to in writing. And this is both front of house and back of house, meaning what you do publicly and also what you do corporately for, in other words, do you offer insurance for your employees' same gender spouses? We ask them to do both sides of the corporate identity. And the last thing they have to do is let us come in and do an hour-long class. That's everyone from the president, vice president, activities, residents, gardeners, cafeteria people, professional caregivers. Anyone can come to this class. We begin by asking a simple question. Who in here knows or loves someone who is LGBT? And we have a smattering of hands. Maybe 3 or 4 people raise their hand. It's fine. No, there's no right or wrong answer. We just ask the question. We don't tell them that we're going to ask that question again at the end of the hour. So we do the hour, and it's very basic and quiet and gentle and non-threatening. What does the L stand for? How do you define what G stands for? What does bi? What does trans mean? Simple definitions. We allow for some discussion, but at the end of the hour, we ask the question again. Who in here knows or loves someone who is LGBT? 100% of the hands go up. Now everyone in that room knows that where they live and where they work is a safe place. Now the niece they've been wanting to talk about, their brother they've been wanting to talk about, their sister they've been wanting to tell the people they live with about, they can now talk about. We do the recertification every year, and when we go back a year later to check in, we hear from residents and management that that class, above all things they do, activity, has made the entire community happier. Because once you come out about that, you can come out about lots of other things. Once you've established that you're in a safe place, a lot of beautiful, wonderful things can come out. We work for equity, both in the Dallas Way and the Coalition for Aging, very simply by being visible. Visibility. Visibility leads to understanding. Understanding leads to equality. But you can't have any of it unless you are visible. Harvey Milk told us in the 70s, you must come out. You have to come out. You must live your truth, or no equality can be had. And you must live it with pride, confidence, with the understanding that this is your world. This is your world. This is your one chance to be on this planet. You better own it, move it forward, all you can. Visibility is what it's all about. Once you raise visibility, you can begin to work for equity. Some of the ways we do that: having a very large archive at the University of North Texas that is frequently visited and cited by authors makes for visibility, because when they thank the Dallas Way and LGBT History Project, it may just be in passing and it may be part of a annotated footnote somewhere, but it says the Dallas Way and LGBT History Project. Somebody, not I as a young person in the 60s, ever saw that. When I went to the library to look up homosexual, first of all, it was very secretive. You had to go to the card catalog. You'd look up homosexual, and there were maybe, if you were lucky, 2 books in the Dallas Library. And they were both very, very, very sad books on the evils of, or the pitfalls of. But through visibility and scholarly work, the Dallas Way spreads this very gentle message that we are there, we are here. And we appreciate how exponentially our work grows, because we're only in the business of collecting the history, making it available. Now, all the dissertations and the theses and the books that are written using our collections, that's just icing on the cake. And that goes out, as I said, exponentially. That's visibility. That's how you build equity. People's history are intentionally hidden from them. Groups have been intentionally hidden from history. Stories that might give a community a powerful feeling, they have been intentionally buried. They've been intentionally hidden from you. I want anyone, if they imagine that they're not from a rich and beautiful legacy within their community, if they don't know where they come from, I would encourage them to do, I'm not saying that right. People often worry about whether America could ever have a gay president. America has already had a gay president. And it's not Abraham Lincoln. It was his predecessor. And he spent his life in love with Franklin Pierce's vice president, Rufus King. America has already had a gay president. America is worried about gays in the military. Can't have gays in the military. Oh, gays in the military. Well, the father of the United States Army, Baron von Steuben, was brought from Germany by George Washington to turn the troops around. One of the reasons we won the Revolutionary War is because of a flamboyantly gay man named Baron von Steuben. American history is filled, the true American history is filled with Americans of gay, Asian, Hispanic, African American, disabled, all kinds of things that are hidden because they're just not convenient to tell. They're there. They are there. You have to know where to look. And it's a rich, rich history that well, thank you for doing this so that we can get some of that out, right? That's what this is for. Yeah. In 2016, the Texas Historical Commission came to Dallas to ask a small group of us if we wanted to work on what would probably become the first LGBT historical subject marker. I volunteered to spearhead that effort. We had the help of Mark Doty, who was on the City of Dallas history, and we had Sam Childers, who was the Dallas County history. And the three of us worked together for a couple of years to write this script, find the location, even decide what we would talk about. We got that done. We raised the money, cost a couple of grand to do that. exactly 2 years after we put in the application, we unveiled the first LGBT historical subject marker in the state of Texas, right here in Dallas, at the corner of Throckmorton and Cedar Springs. It's called the Crossroads because that intersection is known in the community as the Crossroads. It's seen all of the earliest meetings, the earliest formations of all of the organizations we've talked about happened pretty much at that intersection. And it lives there now. And I just got a message from Google yesterday that 400,000 people have visited that site online to find out about the Crossroads historical marker.